starting from England and kind of pedalling off into the world, I thought it would be more fun if I started as far away from home as possible and then tried to ride the bike back to London. So that's the story I'm going to tell you today. Basically bought myself a plane ticket and I flew right to the eastern edge of Siberia because I thought that was about as far away as I could get. And I got off the plane, I started cycling. Eventually it took me just over 3 years to get home.
Further and further we went, more and more into the wilderness. Sometimes now we were seeing almost no people for several days at a time. Some days we didn't see a single car, a single person, a single house, just total desolate emptiness that we were going on, and the temperature just kept getting colder and colder until one morning we got off the bike, looked at the thermometer on my handlebars, and the temperature had dropped. You can see from 0 at the top down to minus 10, 20, 30, 40, minus 40 degrees, which is in fact where centigrade and Fahrenheit meet. So minus 40, whichever way you look at it. If you're interested to know what it feels like at minus 40, a little experiment you can do later when you go home. Open your freezer door, put your hand in to get your ice cream out of the freezer. Try and remember that now. That's about minus 20 in your freezer. So now I want you to double how cold your hand feels, down to minus 40. Got that? And now keep your hand in there for about 6 months. And now you're getting the idea of what it's like in a Siberian winter.
The third day, the road turned into a little track through the jungle. There were no maps, there were no road signs. I was terrified. I heard all these strange sounds, hissing and buzzing and strange chirping noises coming out of the jungle. I thought maybe I'm just going to get lost in here. Nobody will ever see me again. But then I came down a hill. I came to this river. There were all these houses on stilts next to the river. And these two guys stepped out from behind a house. One of them at the time was holding a big bow. The other one had a baseball cap on. And they said, "Why don't you come and stay in our house tonight?" So the next day, we set off walking together. It was great to have company again. I don't know if you can see in Yagi's right hand, he's got an enormous knife. And so I felt a little bit safer. Now I was with Yagi and his knife. And we walked for about a day, and we finally broke out of the jungle. We made it to the beach road. I was so happy to reach this beach road. It was a beautiful beach. The only trouble was it was not a road. It was just a beach. And so I just had to start pushing my bike through the sand. All sorts of obstacles started to come up before me now. Sometimes there were rivers. I had to balance my bike on a canoe, ask somebody to kindly paddle me across. Sometimes there were inlets from the sea. I had to take all the bags off my bike, carry it over my head through the sea, hoping that a wave wouldn't knock me over. Sometimes there were shallow rivers, and I just had to walk through quickly, hoping there weren't too many crocodiles around. I was still very far outside of my comfort zone.
On our adventures in life, we need to set ourselves specific goals. I needed, on this expedition, a long-term goal. I was trying to get to Hong Kong. It was great to have that as my ultimate goal. But if I only ever thought about getting to Hong Kong, that would be a very depressing thought on my first day. I had a very long way to go. So I needed medium-term goals. Where am I trying to get this week? And I needed a short-term goal. What is my goal for today? How many kilometers do I need to walk today in order to be on track for that grand goal? The daily routines we had to practice was stretching, because I knew if I was going to fail on this expedition, one of the most likely ways I might fail would be if I got injured. And one of the best ways to prevent injury is to do loads of stretching. One of those small acts of discipline. But in normal life, I find I also have to practice really key disciplines. At the moment, I'm writing a book, and I find one of the most crucial small acts of discipline every day is to disable my internet before I start work. In fact, sometimes I even get my wife to hide the router before she goes to work, so I can't check my email. And that's a small act of discipline. It transforms how well I can progress that day. More in a professional sphere, I've found small act of discipline is things like courtesy. I've found it's such a small thing, but it makes such a difference to working relationships. Things like sending a thank you or writing a thank you card to people when you should do. Live your life as an adventure, take these attitudes of adventure, and even if you don't think you're the smartest, the bravest, the strongest, don't let that hold you back. Live your life as an adventure. Thank you very much.